Hello, my crafty friends. Today I am sharing a pop-up sympathy card that I made for friends. I did want it to be a little more special, so this one did take a little bit more time and it is quite thick. So even though it does fit in an envelope, it will require some extra postage for mailing, and I am just fine with that. So the card, the printed card base, which I'll show you in a minute, and this printed envelope with the liner, that is from Dandy Garden, which is a kind of a sweet from Stampin' Up. I like the quality of the cardstock and envelopes and the size. This is meant to work with 4x6 photos, I believe, and so the card is a little bit larger than that. It is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Usually when I work on my pop-up cards, I do the inside first and then finish off the front to kind of tie into what I did on the inside. So I die cut extra of the flowers and sprigs that I used inside and added them to the card front once the inside was done. Thinking of You comes from Karen Burniston's Word Set 10, Thinking of You. I added a little bit of stickles to the flower centers. So I used Karen Burniston's Flower Pot Pop Up and her With Sympathy. I haven't done one in a while, and when I haven't done a pop-up card in a while, I tend to go back and look at her assembly videos just as a refresher. They're so handy to have. I knew that this was going to go on a white panel, but I had forgotten about the fold in a fold. And so she suggested that you cut your outer card in half and then adhere it to the inner panel. So that's what I did here. I just cut the card along the seam and then attached it, the front and the back, to this folded panel, which is where the flaps were cut to hold the flower pot pop-up. With Sympathy is a fairly new die set from Karen Burniston. I love each of the words cut as a single piece, so you can use them independently or use them layering or moving them around, and I really like both of the fonts. The butterfly was in my stash. I've had them for a very long time, so I'm not even sure where that came from. I do love butterflies, so I added that. Older pattern paper from my stash. In fact, this was mostly made with scraps. I just pulled out my gray and my yellow scraps and used that for most of my die cutting. So this white panel is lightweight cardstock, and that is what I used to cut the pop-up into. And then just for some added color, I used one of the vellum doilies from Stampin' Up to add some color to the back panel here. And I also added a vellum doily underneath the flower pot, and it's adhered on the one side and at the top, but I didn't adhere it on this side, which allows it to kind of stretch and move a little bit as the card is closed, but then flattens out when the card is open. And also, I didn't mention, but the reason you cut the card in half rather than putting the inner card inside the outer card and having the fold in a fold is that does allow your card to stay flat, and you can see my card does open and will display very nicely, which is what I wanted. I wanted them to have a little bouquet from us. Well, this was a lightweight white cardstock. All of the other white is actually a white pearl cardstock, and it has almost a yellow tone to it, so I thought it worked well with the other yellows and the grays. The striped pattern paper was just a narrow strip. It was about 10 inches long. It was about this wide, sitting in my scrap bin, so I liked that the colors matched. It just kind of all worked out really well. So not a fun card to make by any means, but I was happy with the way it turned out, and I will be popping this into the mail to our friends. If you enjoyed my video today, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more. And that's it for me today.